Relax, we're just messing around. You should be flattered we even noticed you.
Bullies shredded the shy girl's prom dress by dawn. No one dared speak of it. In a dressing room filled with laughter and the smell of perfume, no one expected a cruel act to turn prom night into a nightmare. Emma, a shy 17-year-old girl with curly brown hair, was holding her lavender dress, trembling, unaware that in a few minutes her dreams would be shattered into pieces at the hands of cruel bullies. Westfield High School is filled with the excitement of senior prom on this Friday afternoon in late April. The hallways are decorated with silver and navy streamers, and Prom Night 2024 posters are everywhere. The sound of high heels and excited chatter echoes throughout the building. The afternoon sun shines through the large windows, casting golden streaks of light on the polished tile floors. The girls' dressing room on the second floor resembled a miniature tailor shop, with dozens of evening gowns neatly hung on hangers. The sweet scent of teen spirit perfume mingled with the smell of powder and hair gel. The girls' laughter created a symphony of youth and hope. Emma Martinez sat silently in the corner of the room, her lavender dress carefully placed on her lap. Her oval face with light brown skin was framed by naturally curly brown hair. Her big brown eyes were often lowered to avoid the gaze of others. Her small hands trembled as she held the dress, something she had saved every penny for a year to buy. Emma's background is different from the other girls in her class. She moved to Westfield 2 years ago when her mother Maria found a job at a local textile factory. Adjusting to her new surroundings, especially as one of the few Latinos at her school, hasn't been easy. Emma lives with her mother in a small 2-bedroom apartment where the noise of neighbors and the smells of other immigrant families cooking create a cacophony of a community trying to find its footing. Maria Martinez, 38, works double shifts to support her daughter. She dreamed of becoming a fashion designer in Mexico, but life brought her here with her skillful hands only used to sew cheap clothes in a garment factory. The stories Maria told Emma about her homeland, about the beautiful dresses she designed, nurtured Emma's love of fashion and her dream of one day shining. Emma's strengths lie in her patience and her great observation skills. She can remember the smallest details of how other people dress, how they combine colors and accessories. However, her shyness and fear of rejection have kept her at a distance from people. Emma has never participated in any social activities at school, has never had close friends, and certainly never thought that anyone would ask her to prom. The biggest challenge Emma faces is not only attending the prom alone, but also having to deal with Madison Sterling and her group of friends, the girls considered royalty of Westfield High. Madison, with her blonde hair and cold blue eyes, has seen Emma as a favorite target for cruel jokes since the first day she moved in. Madison Sterling, 17, is the daughter of a prominent lawyer and a plastic surgeon in town. She lives in a large mansion in a posh neighborhood where every house has its own swimming pool and a garden maintained by a professional gardener. Madison is used to getting everything she wants and can't stand it when someone, especially Emma, dares to get ahead of her. Along with Madison are Chloe and Ashley, 2 girls who come from wealthy families and have been with Madison since elementary school. They form a tight-knit group, always ready to protect their social status at all costs. To them, Emma is not just a poor girl, but also a potential threat. Because despite her silence, Emma has a natural beauty and elegance that money can't buy. The root cause of the conflict began when Emma accidentally attracted the attention of Ryan Chen, a guy Madison had been secretly pursuing for the past 2 years. Ryan, with his warm smile and gentle personality, repeatedly tried to talk to Emma, which Madison considered an unforgivable insult. When Emma decides to attend the prom alone in the dress she's been dreaming of, she has no idea that Madison has a plan to teach her a lesson. The challenge Emma faces is not just about protecting her dress or her dignity, but about finding an inner strength she never knew she had. That fateful afternoon, Emma arrived early to get ready for school. She brought her dress in an old canvas bag her mother had hand-stitched along with a pair of used high heels she had bought at a thrift store. The small bag also contained a cheap compact and a tube of pale pink lipstick, her entire makeup collection. When Emma entered the dressing room, it was like she had entered another world. The other girls had arrived early carrying professional makeup cases and designer dresses. The laughter and chatter created a bustling atmosphere that Emma had never been a part of before. Emma found a quiet corner to change, trying not to attract attention. She carefully opened the cloth bag and took out the dress. Under the fluorescent lights of the dressing room, the lavender color of the dress glowed softly. It was a simple yet elegant design, with a tight bodice and a slightly flared skirt that reached just above the knee. Small sequins were scattered here and there, creating a subtle sparkling effect. Madison from across the room had been eyeing Emma since she entered. Madison's dress was an expensive burgundy design made of high-quality silk, but when she saw Emma in her lavender dress, she felt a sudden pang of envy. Emma, with her natural beauty and gentleness, looked truly outstanding in a way that money could not create. "Look," Madison whispered to Chloe and Ashley, "our poor princess has decided to attend the party." Her voice was filled with sarcasm and malice. Chloe chuckled. "Does she think that cheap dress will make her special?" Emma could hear the whispering, but tried to ignore it. She focused on getting ready, hoping that if she didn't draw attention, they would leave her alone. But Madison decided that Emma needed to learn a lesson about knowing where she fit into the school's social hierarchy. The opportunity came when Emma went into the bathroom to finish her makeup. Madison signaled to Chloe and Ashley, and the three of them moved to Emma's corner. "Let's take a closer look at this designer dress," Madison said in a fake concerned tone. When Emma returned from the bathroom, she saw Madison holding her dress. "Give it back," Emma said, the first time in 2 years that she had dared to speak loudly to Madison. But instead of giving it back, Madison smiled wickedly. She finally had her say. Too late, though. What happened next took only a few seconds but would haunt Emma forever. Madison, with surprising strength, began tearing the dress from the shoulders. The sound of tearing fabric was like a scream. Chloe and Ashley joined in, each grabbing a section of the dress and pulling in different directions. "No," Emma screamed, rushing towards them, trying to save the dress. But it was too late. In seconds, the dress she had saved up for a year, the dress that held all her hopes and dreams for a special night, was reduced to tattered pieces. Sequins scattered across the floor like sparkling tears. The fabric in Emma's hands was an unrecognizable sliver. She stood there trembling, staring down at the wreckage of her dream. "Oh no," Madison said in a mock concerned tone. "We ruined your expensive dress." "What a shame," Chloe and Ashley giggled, taking out their phones to record video of Emma, standing motionless in the pile of fabric. Emma didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there looking down at what was left of her dream, feeling as if a part of her soul had been ripped away along with the dress. This wasn't just about the dress. It was about all the hopes she'd held about being able to be a part of this world, if only for one night. The other girls in the locker room witnessed this scene, but no one dared to speak up. They knew that if they stood up to Madison, they could be targeted next. The silence was more painful than the laughter. Madison and her friends left the locker room, leaving Emma alone with the mess. "Make sure you clean up this mess," Madison called over her shoulder before walking out. "We don't want the locker room to get dirty." Emma knelt down and began picking at each piece of fabric, each sequin. Tears finally fell, not because of the dress, but because of the realization that she would never be accepted here. She would always be the poor girl, the girl on the margins, the girl who wasn't allowed to dream. As the dressing room emptied, Emma sat on the cold floor, clutching the remains of her clothes to her chest. She thought of her mother, who was working the night shift and would ask about the prom when she got home. How could she explain that their dreams had been crushed at the hands of cruel children? The sound of music from the gymnasium, where the ball was taking place, echoed back to her, a painful reminder of what she had lost. Emma knew she couldn't go home and pretend nothing had happened. She needed to find a way to cope, but how could she when everything she had was taken away from her? In that moment of despair, Emma had no idea that someone had seen it all happen and that her life was about to change in ways she never imagined. One man had been watching silently and had decided that it was time to act. Walter Kowalski, 68, a janitor at Westfield School, has worked there for 30 years. With his silver hair and gentle blue eyes behind his glasses, he is one of the least noticeable people in the school. Students walk past him every day as if he doesn't exist, but Walter sees it all, understands it all, and remembers it all. Walter had watched Madison and her friends ruin Emma's dress from the hallway outside. He had heard the tearing of fabric and the evil laughter, and his heart ached at the sight of Emma sitting alone in the rubble. It was not the first time he had witnessed the cruelty of youth, but this time there was something different. Emma reminded him of a daughter he had lost 20 years ago. Anna, his only daughter, had also been a shy girl who had also been bullied at school. He had not been brave enough to protect Anna back then, and that had led to a tragedy for which he could never forgive himself. Walter is not just a janitor. Before coming to Westfield, he was a talented tailor in New York, working for famous designers and making dresses for Broadway stars. His life changed completely after Anna's death, and he fled to this small town to forget his painful past. But today, seeing Emma in that state, Walter knew he couldn't stay silent any longer. He had a chance to make amends, to do what he had failed to do for Anna, and he knew exactly what he needed to do. Walter entered the dressing room, moving softly so as not to startle Emma. "Little girl," he said in a deep voice, "are you all right?" Emma looked up, her eyes red with tears. She shook her head, not trusting her voice. Walter looked down at the rags, then back at Emma. In her eyes, he saw the same pain he had seen in Anna's eyes all those years ago. "Do you trust me?" Walter asked, his voice filled with a sincerity Emma had never heard from an adult other than her mother. Emma nodded slowly, not knowing why, but feeling safe with him. "Then follow me," Walter said, standing up and holding out his hand to help Emma up. "I'll help you get a new dress, and I promise you those kids will regret what they did." Emma hesitated, but then took Walter's hand. She didn't know what he was going to do, but she had nothing to lose. And there was something in Walter's eyes that made her believe he could keep his promise. They left the locker room, Walter leading Emma down the deserted hallways into the school's basement. Emma had never been in this area before, with only the hum of ventilation motors and the flickering of fluorescent lights. But when Walter opened the door to a small room at the end of the hallway, Emma couldn't believe her eyes. The small room was a complete miniature sewing workshop. There were old but well-maintained sewing machines, a cutting table, and rolls of fabric neatly arranged on shelves. On the walls hung black and white photographs of beautiful dresses and a faded certificate of commendation from the New York Tailoring Association. "You used to be a tailor," Emma whispered, unable to hide her surprise. Walter nodded, his eyes distant. "I was once famous in New York. But that's in the past. Now let's focus on the present." He turned to Emma, measuring her with the expert gaze of a veteran tailor. "Can you do it?" Emma asked, her voice trembling with hope. "The ball starts in 2 hours." Walter smiled, his hands already picking at fabric. "Trust me, I once made a dress for a Broadway star in an hour and a half." He paused, looking at Emma seriously. "But I want you to understand one thing. This dress is more than fabric and thread. It will be a symbol of the power you have inside. Are you ready for that?" Emma didn't quite understand the meaning of the question, but she nodded. She had lost everything what was there to fear. Walter set to work, his hands moving with incredible speed and precision. He chose a midnight blue silk, soft as water and with a natural metallic sheen. While Walter cut and sewed, he told Emma about his past, about his days working for top designers, about his passion for sewing, and about Anna, the daughter he lost because of his own shyness. "Anna was like you," Walter said, his sewing unceasing. "She was shy, bullied, and I didn't protect her." His voice cracked. "She killed herself at 16 because she couldn't take the pressure anymore." Emma stopped breathing, looking at Walter with pity in her eyes. "Have you forgiven yourself?" Walter stopped sewing, looking at Emma. "Never. But maybe helping you will be the first step." He continued working, and Emma understood that this dress was not just for her, it was Walter's way of healing his own broken heart as well. An hour and a half later, Walter handed Emma the finished dress. This was no ordinary dress, it was a work of art. The midnight blue of the silk fabric created the effect of a starry night sky, and the way Walter had cut it made Emma look like a queen. "Try it on," Walter said, turning away so Emma could change. When Emma put on the dress, she felt like she had transformed into a completely different person. In the mirror, she saw not the shy Emma Martinez, but a strong, confident version of herself. "Now the last part," Walter said, opening an old box. Inside was a necklace with a star-shaped pendant made of real diamonds. "This is Anna's. I want you to wear it." Emma shakily reached out, feeling the weight of the necklace and the story behind it. "Are you sure?" Walter said, helping Emma put on the necklace. "Anna would want this. She would want you to shine." When Emma took one last look at herself in the mirror, she knew she was ready. Not just ready for the prom, but ready to face Madison and all the people who had ever put her down. Walter had given her more than a dress, he had given her the confidence to be herself. "Thank you," Emma said, hugging Walter tightly. "You saved me." "No," Walter replied, his eyes filling with tears. "You saved me." They walked up from the basement together, Emma in her beautiful dress, and Walter in his old but neatly pressed suit. As they approached the gym, the music got louder, and Emma could see colorful lights from inside. "Are you ready?" Walter asked. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the strength of the dress, of Anna's story, and of the love Walter had for her. "I'm ready." When the gym doors opened and Emma walked in, the entire ballroom stopped. Everyone turned to look at her, mouths agape at her beauty and elegance. This was no longer the shy Emma. This was a whole new version, strong and confident. Madison, standing near the drinks table with her friends, couldn't believe her eyes. "How did she get that dress?" she whispered to Chloe, her voice filled with wonder and envy. Emma walked across the room, her head held high, every step confident and determined. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, but this time it wasn't out of curiosity or contempt. It was out of admiration. Ryan Chen, the guy Madison had been chasing, walked up to Emma with a look of surprise and admiration. "Emma, you look gorgeous," he said. "Can I dance?" Emma smiled, her first real smile at this school. "Of course," she replied, her voice now strong and clear. As they stepped onto the dance floor, everyone made way. The music slowed and Emma danced with a grace she never knew she had. Madison stood in the corner, her face red with anger and helplessness. "I don't understand how she could," Madison muttered, but Chloe and Ashley had already started to back away. They could sense the change in the air, sense that the power had shifted. As Emma danced, she saw Walter standing in the doorway, smiling with fatherly pride. She nodded at him, a small gesture of thanks, and Walter nodded back before silently leaving. The ball continued, but Emma was the center of attention. She danced with different boys, talked to girls she would never have dared to approach before. With each passing minute, she became more confident, more radiant. Madison, unable to bear being overshadowed, decided to take action. She approached Emma as she stood alone at the drinks table. "Who do you think you are?" Madison asked in a combative tone. Emma turned, looking Madison in the eye for the first time. "I'm Emma Martinez," she said in a calm but strong voice, "and I have as much right to be here as anyone else." "Rights?" Madison giggled. "You don't have any rights. You're just—" But she couldn't continue because Emma interrupted. "Who am I?" Emma said, her voice now echoing in the gym as people around her began to take notice. "I am the daughter of a strong woman. I am the top student in my advanced math class. I am the one who worked every weekend to buy that dress you ruined." The whole room was listening now. Madison felt everyone's eyes on her, and for the first time in her life, she felt isolated. And most importantly, Emma continued, "I am someone who has learned that true beauty doesn't come from money or harming others. It comes from kindness and the courage to stand up for what is right." Madison opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. She looked around and saw that even Chloe and Ashley were backing away from her. The other students started clapping for Emma, and Madison felt her power evaporate like smoke. "I forgive you," Emma said finally, her voice soft but firm. "But I will never let you or anyone else make me feel small again." Emma turned and walked away, leaving Madison standing alone in the crowd. As she passed, other students began to crowd around her, wanting to talk, wanting to be her friend. Emma had not only regained her confidence, she had become a symbol of standing up to bullying. The prom ended with Emma being elected prom queen by the student body, something that had never happened in the history of Westfield High. As the crown was placed on her head, Emma thought of Walter, of Anna, and of everyone who had ever felt small and rejected. The next morning, Emma's story spread throughout the school, but the remarkable thing was that no one dared to mention the torn dress yesterday. Madison and her friends became silent, knowing that if the story was really told, they would become the outcasts instead of Emma. Emma walked down the hallway with a new confidence, and this time she didn't bow. She greeted the other students, smiled, and for the first time felt like she really belonged. Walter watched her from a distance, his smile as bright as the sun. That afternoon, Emma found Walter in his basement closet. "Can you teach me to sew?" she asked. "I want to learn how to create beauty like you do." Walter nodded, his eyes shining. "It was an honor to teach you." He paused, looking at Emma with fatherly love. Anna would be so proud of you." From that day on, Emma and Walter spent their after-school hours sewing together. She learned not just about technique, but about art, about turning scraps of fabric into something beautiful. And Walter, for the first time in years, felt as if Anna were still with him. Emma also starts an anti-bullying club at school where students can share their stories and find support. Madison, although initially resistant, eventually joins in and apologizes to Emma in front of everyone. The story of that prom night became legend at Westfield High. Not about the ripped dress, but about a girl who found the strength to face down bullies and become the best version of herself, and about a man who found salvation in helping others. Years later, when Emma became a famous fashion designer, she would always tell the story of Walter and the magical dress that changed her life. And every time a young girl felt small and rejected, Emma would sit down and make her a dress, along with a story about how true beauty comes from within and the strength to stand up for yourself. Walter, until his dying day, kept a picture of Emma from that night on his desk. And every time he looked at the picture, he knew that Anna was at peace and that love could heal any wound, no matter how deep.